Good Monday morning, everybody. Chris here with High Seas Cruising, and welcome to today's video. We have a lot of cruise stories for you today. We got cruise cancellations, we've got itinerary changes, we have another cruise ship fire. So let's get into the cruise news. First, we have some updates on the Carnival Freedom. She was, of course, struck by lightning, or suspected to have been struck by lightning on the 23rd. Caused a fire up in the funnel. The fire was quickly put out, and then Carnival put out a statement saying it should not affect the remainder of this sailing and should not affect the upcoming sailings. Well, unfortunately, that has changed. While docked yesterday in Freeport, Bahamas, they did some inspections on the funnel, found out that it needs additional stabilization, needs some emergency repairs for it to actually be fully safe. Now, they were able to stabilize it in order to get back to Port Canaveral, disembark the passengers, and then the ship is going to go back to Freeport, go into dry dock, and get all of the necessary repairs. But that has caused the next two cruises to be canceled. So the cruise today on March 25th and the cruise on March the 30th have both been canceled. Guests will be receiving a 100% refund as well as a 100% future cruise credit. You can see here in the picture, this is the damage to the funnel after the fire has already been put out. Are they going to be able to replace this section of the funnel while in Freeport? Or is the Carnival Freedom going to go back to being without a whale tail again until it can be replaced? MSC Meraviglia, well, she had a drastic itinerary change over the weekend. Originally was supposed to sail from New York, head down to the Caribbean, but due to bad weather and high winds, she had a drastic itinerary change. Instead of skipping ports and putting passengers through rough seas, MSC decided, well, instead of the Caribbean, we're just gonna head a whole different direction. And now they went north, visiting Boston and up into Canada. Now, itinerary changes, they can happen. Weather can force itinerary changes all the time. And unfortunately for these passengers, they got notified of this drastic itinerary change the night before their cruise. Passengers were unhappy, and look, I kind of get it. If your suitcase is packed, expected to head down to the Caribbean, and suddenly find out, well, instead you're heading up to Canada, do you even have the right stuff with you to go on the cruise? And some passengers are wondering, did it really have to be such a short notice? Now, cruise lines, they don't control the weather. We all know they have nothing to do with it. They can't control it. They can't stop it, and these itinerary changes happen. But sometimes when you get that last minute late notice, in this particular situation, where what you pack can make a difference on your cruise, I can see why some people would be upset. Now, passengers did have the option to cancel their cruise and receive a 100% future cruise credit. No refunds, just a future cruise credit if they didn't want to sail to Canada. But this storm system affected multiple cruise lines. It did affect multiple itineraries through Royal Caribbean, Carnival, Norwegian Cruise Lines. They all had to do some adjusting over this weather that happened this past weekend. It's just MSC, they definitely had a drastic itinerary change. Carnival Cruise Lines, they have released some more information on their new private island destination in the Bahamas. They've released information on two of the areas that are going to be there in Celebration Key, Paradise Plaza, and the Calypso Lagoon, which is going to be their pool area. They did release this short little video, so I'm going to go ahead and throw this video up so we can all take a look at some of the concept work that they have for Celebration Key.
Destination. Here's what you can expect in two of our portals. Say hello to Paradise Plaza. This is where you enter the fun. Walk under the sun portal, and you're just steps from finding what's great on Celebration Key, from lounging under the sun to shore excursions. Next up is our adult-friendly portal, Calypso Lagoon, with a variety of activities for all. You'll find cabanas, day beds, and a bar with swings over the lagoon. Here's a sneak peek of our Super Villa Cabana. Then there's the adult-only area featuring a secluded beach, swim-up bar, and a DJ island. Now you're gonna need to come check out Celebration Key for yourself. It's your key to paradise.
All right. Now, I do like that big giant sand castle when you first get off the ship. You're walking up the cruise pier, you get to see that big giant. It looks interesting. It looks like it's going to be a very nice, very exciting place. Clearly, Carnival's answer to Royal Caribbean's Coco Key. Celebration Key will be opening in 2025. Look forward to traveling there and checking it out for myself. And while Carnival Cruise Lines is releasing information on Celebration Key, well, we also have an announcement from Royal Caribbean that they're going to be opening a new private beach club in Cozumel, Mexico, called Royal Caribbean Beach Club Cozumel. Now, a whole lot of specifics have not yet been released about specifically what they're going to have there. Just some basic information. It will have swim-up bars. It will have private cabanas, snorkeling, kayaking, a street market, hands-on experience, tequila experiences, all there in the private destination. It will be exclusively for Royal Caribbean guests. And they're saying it's going to be walking distance from the International Cruise Pier, which is where Royal Caribbean normally docks when they visit Cozumel, Mexico, and is expected to be open in 2026. So going to have a lot of private cruise destinations coming up here. You have Celebration Key from Carnival Cruise Lines. You have the Royal Caribbean Private Club opening in Nassau, Bahamas, where they've announced the new one here in Cozumel, Mexico, meaning more options and more choices for upcoming cruises. Now we have 2 cruise cancellations from Royal Caribbean. First up is going to be Royal Caribbean's Brilliance of the Seas, currently sailing down in Australia. While out on their current sailing, the ship began to have technical issues affecting the speed. You know what they say, whenever it's technical issues, they're having some kind of propulsion problem. But this time it is serious enough that they have actually canceled the remainder of the current sailing. They are headed back to port, and the upcoming March 30th sailing has been canceled altogether. Brilliance of the Seas experienced a technical issue on its last sailing, and we're returning early to begin required maintenance. Our crew has started working on restoring the system, and we're deploying the best expert. Despite our efforts, we are unable to complete the needed repairs to be ready in time for our 30th March 2024 sailing. Passengers currently on board the sailing received a $200 onboard credit so far, and for the upcoming cruise, passengers are being offered a 100% refund, all credited back to the original form of payment. Now, this is not the first time we've ever heard about propulsion issues. Plenty of cruise ships have had these before. It affects their speed. They end up missing cruise ports, delays them getting back to port. But this time they went ahead and are heading back to port early and canceling a whole next sailing. So you figure this problem's got to be pretty serious if a cruise line is willing to cancel an entire cruise over it. Now, guests on Royal Caribbean's Spectrum of the Seas that were scheduled to go out on June the 14th of 2024, sailing out of Asia, well, they have been informed that their cruise has been canceled because the cruise ship has been chartered by another group. Now, Royal Caribbean hasn't released who did the charter, who's taking over the sailing. Normally, they give a little more time than just a few months prior to a sailing. Now, while passengers have the option to get a 100% refund, they can move to a different sailing, they can move to a different ship, it still kind of sucks. With only a 3-month notice that, hey, your cruise is canceled, we've given it away to somebody else. You know, people make plans. They're ready to take their vacation. They're ready to go. They're almost there. And basically somebody with more money that was worth more than your cruise has now convinced the cruise line to cancel your cruise. It happens, not the first time again, happened on other cruise lines, but you know what? Still kind of sucks. And finally, sad news aboard Holland America's New Amsterdam. They were docked in Half Moon Cay in the Bahamas, and there was an incident in the engineering space that did result in the death of 2 crew members. When the story first came out, it was initially reported that there had been a fire in the engineering space on board the ship. And now the story is that a steam pipe had broke inside the engineering space, and that resulted in the death of 2 crew members. Now, Holland America is not being specific to exactly what the incident was. It's currently under investigation, so not 100% sure, was it a fire? Was it a steam incident? However, the only thing we do know for sure is it did unfortunately result in the death of 2 crew members. And like I said, beyond that, we do not have a whole lot of information, specifically to the incident. What happened? What went on? What caused the death of 2 crew members, just said, other than incident in the engine room. Okay, now Holland America did put out the following statement. We regret to share that while calling at Half Moon Cay, the Bahamas, there was an incident in an engineering space on board New Amsterdam, which sadly resulted in the death of 2 crew members. The appropriate authorities were notified, and the cause of the incident is currently being investigated. All of us at Holland America Line are deeply saddened by this incident, and our thoughts and prayers are with our team members' families at this difficult time. The safety, security, and welfare of all guests and crew are the company's absolute priority. We are offering counseling services to team members who may have been affected by this incident. So a tragic situation, no matter how it happened. Anytime that we have to talk about the death of crew members, passengers, anybody on board a cruise ship, it's always a tragedy. And our thoughts and prayers go out to the crew members on board the ship and to their family members back home. So, incident in the engineering space. A cruise funnel possibly struck by lightning. It's been a rough weekend for cruising. Both situations still under investigation, and time will tell. Are we going to get the full reports, the full incidences, what happened from the cruise lines? Well, right now we're kind of in a wait and see.